baby, we're back! One Punch Man discussion video. It's been far too long. I busted out my proper dress for this. You got a suit and tie and blue jeans. Why blue jeans? Because it's just more comfortable. Why wouldn't you wear them? You know, sometimes I feel society's standards for proper dress is just very impractical. Like, for the most part, I'm cool with it, but like, alright, for example, let me ask you guys a serious question, okay? You know how, like, you were a little kid, you probably wore shoes that had Velcro straps, and weren't those awesome? Weren't those so convenient? You just put the shoe on and you clasp the Velcro and they don't come untied, you could go out your whole day. And then at some point, you know, you get to the point where it's like, they don't make shoes that big anymore, you gotta wear shoelaces, you gotta learn how to tie your shoes. Why? Why do shoelaces even exist? Just keep with the Velcro. Seems more of a convenience to me, but anyway. Alright, well, One Punch Man Season 2's trailer has been, dropped. This was actually done, I think, a week or two ago, so I'm a little bit late to the punch on this one. Do you get it? Late to the punch? Late to the punch? Okay. Yeah, always, by the way, oh, that's a big snafu. If you're ever at, like, a public event or something and where you have to wear a suit, when you sit down, make sure to unbutton your suit. That's very improper to wear, you know, have it buttoned while you're sitting down. It's not, no, that's a big no-no. See what I mean? Like, who cares? Who really cares? But okay, fine. Anyway, because of Season 2, I looked at the roster of the characters that would be appearing here. Of course, we have King, who is the world's strongest man, absolutely undebatable. We also have Garo, who is the hero hunter. We're also, there was a few other people that didn't appear in the trailer as prominently, like, for example, Metal Bat. Oh, Metal Bat. He'll be making an appearance this season. You can bet your sweet bippy on that. That's gonna be pretty cool. But I already made videos about those guys. You know, I made a video about King, actually in my S-Class discussion series that I did, which was very popular. The whole thing really worked out great. Each of those videos got over 100,000 views, except for one. You know which S-Class, for whatever reason, ranked the lowest out of all the videos? It was Drive Knight, of all people. He didn't crack 100K. I don't know. Drive Knight! He's like a robot transformer. Like, he has like a lance and shit. Like, okay, fine, whatever. But I already talked about King. I already made a video about Garo and Metal Bat and talking about how awesome all those characters are. But then we get to Fubuki, Miss Fubuki-chan, the Blizzard of Hell. And I'm like, alright, well, we could talk about her. Now, right about now, you might be having a vague recollection if you watch every single one of my videos, in which case, you should really seek help. That's not normal. Even I don't watch all my videos. In fact, like, you know, like, every 3 out of 10 videos I make, I deliberately bash my head against something hard, so I completely forgot about what I just did, okay? But the point is, if you watch all my stuff, you probably wait. I seem to recall you making a Fubuki video at one point. Like, I seem to recall us being here before. Like, no, that's a common misconception. It's fine. No, I did a video about Fubuki's Jigglypuffs. A different video altogether from the actual character that is Fubuki, okay? There's a separate thing altogether. In which case, if you're wondering, like, talk about her boobs! Well, I literally made a whole video just about her boobs! We're still gonna mention them at some point, because you kinda have to, but, you know, it's fine. Alright. So, Fubuki is the Class B Rank 1 hero, and she runs up the Blizzard group. So basically how this works is, like a lot of things in life, you know, you have like an organization like the Hero Association, much like high school, it's run by certain cliques, you know, like you get to high school and it's like, alright, well, the jocks, you know, are bullying me, and you have the goths that are kind of isolated. My high school wasn't like this. My high school wasn't this cliche, but maybe yours was, I don't know. But the point is, there's all these different, like, little, you know, subgroups in the main structure, right? So the Hero Association, in a perfect world, all the heroes would work together to fight against the monsters and you know, quell the threat levels, and in some situations, you know, you would have maybe a bunch of C-class heroes working together with B and A and maybe even S-class heroes to help mitigate the threat. Not exactly how it works because of the way the Hero Association is set up. Heroes, you know, for example, C-class, they have to do weekly quotas in order to get their rank up, in order to make sure they stay on the roster, in order to get paid. So if you're a C-class hero and there's a monster in town, odds are I mean, you might team up with some other C-class that you might know about, but there's sort of this competition in the air. Like, who's gonna get there first? Who's gonna take out the threat the fastest? Who's gonna get the accolades for this, you know? So, after C-class, after you've worked your way up through that, and it's basically the part-time job, now you're getting into B-class, which is like full-time employment, kind of. Get paid a little bit more. You have another issue to deal with. You don't have to do the weekly quota thing anymore, but now you gotta deal with the subgroup of the Blizzard Bunch, alright? Headed up by Fubuki. Fubuki is Class B rank 1, so she controls the majority of the heroes that are in the class. Not every single B-class hero is a member of the Blizzard group, but a sizable chunk of them are, and you can tell by their fancy style of dress. Fubuki is someone that dresses always very extravagantly, very high-class blouses or, you know, sweaters or, you know, necklaces and jewelry, and she wears like a, you know, fur coat around. Very fine, high-class kind of person Fubuki is, right? And then all of the ones that work under her, like B-class rank 2, eyelashes, he wears the fancy suit, and he has eyelash curlers, which that might sound funny, like he fights with eyelash curlers. Oh, no, no, no. What if I told you they were transforming eyelash curlers? That's right. He pulls out eyelash curlers, and he's like, hold on, curler change, and like the metal like warps, and it turns into like Wolverine claws, like giant like 1-foot spikes that he like jams into a monster or something. So that's cool. And then you have B-class rank 3, mountain ape or mountain gorilla or mountain monkey, depends on the translation. Some sort of high altitude based simian of nature, you know, and he's just, as you would imagine, big, tough, gruff kind of dude, like, you want me to break his back, Lady Fubuki? Crick crack. And he has an ability called Wild Switch, where, as you could probably imagine, it's a berserk mode. That's basically what it is. Like, I have all the powers of a mighty gorilla. Crack! Oh, and there's also, how could I forget this person? There is also best girl in the entire Blizzard bunch, Lily, also known as Lily of the 3 section staff, because she's really good at using her 3-section staff in order to fight. It's a staff that sections off into 3, kind of like Nami from One Piece, sort of. But no, best girl Lily. I mean, Fubuki, best woman. Okay, because she is best lady. Yeah, best lady. That's way better. But, you know, when it comes to Lily, best girl, 100%. It's funny, because Lily wasn't even in the original webcomic. I think Murata added her later, and then one did include her later on during the fight between the Fubuki group and Tatsumaki. He draws in Lily. So Lily wasn't originally there. Maybe they thought that, you know, this Blizzard group, it's cool. They have a neat design with the suits, but it's, aside from Fubuki, it's really lacking that feminine touch. In fact, I could see that. I could see a lot of B-class heroes that are female looking up to Fubuki, because she seems to have this air of like high class, and she's at the top of all of the B-class heroes, and she rules over the Blizzard group, and everyone respects her. So I can understand, like, oh wow, I want to be like her, so I'm gonna join the Blizzard group. And that was Lily, and Lily just kind of like maybe learns from Fubuki a little bit on her status and all of that stuff, okay? So yeah, like I said, not every single B-class hero is part of the group, but if the B-class starts to gain a little bit of notoriety, if they start taking out a lot of monsters, if it's looking like they're going to be kind of competition, Fubuki will seek them out and sort of bully them into joining. It's sort of like the low-ranking mafia of the Hero Association, in a sense. I say low-ranking because it's not like they're gonna, like, straight up, like, kill you if you don't join. They might just kind of, like, rough you up a little bit. Because Fubuki, after she learned about the exploits of Saitama, and now he's in the B-class, you know, it wasn't very long before Fubuki set her sights on our bald-headed protagonist, and she and Eyelashes and Mountain Ape go into Saitama's apartment and basically just, like, open the door and, like, welcome to the Blizzard Bunch, would you like to join? And then Saitama's just like, nope. It's like, telemarketers, get out of my house. And so, yeah, this is not something that she was anticipating. Eyelashes and Mountain Ape try to attack Saitama, like, you dare talk to our mistress like that? Saitama, as you could figure, just punches them into a pile of tires down on the other side of the road, and Fubuki's like, ah! So this starts off a little bit of a fight there. Fubuki gets mighty pissed off. I'm assuming she doesn't do this with, like, every applicant that turns her down, but Saitama did it in such a brash way, because she is, like, once again, she is so used to being, like, kind of lorded as the mistress, as the queen of the class, you know, and she dresses all fancy, and then all of a sudden, it's this, like, middle-class, bald dude who's wearing, like, a, you know, an old wrinkled t-shirt that opens his shitty apartment and is like, oh, I don't want to join you. Bang, bang! And then that's the guy that opposes her, of all people. And so Fubuki gets mighty pissed at that, and so she fights Saitama. It goes about as well as you would figure. However, the fight gets interrupted with Sonic arriving and then Genos, and so they start having this whirlwind fight around Fubuki and Saitama's brawl. It basically comes down to, there's this big attack that Saitama protects Fubuki from, which would have seriously injured her, because this fight is like, you know, Sonic is S-Class easily, Genos is S-Class, Saitama is SSSSSSSSSSSSS times a Googleplex class, plus infinity. So it's like all this going on around her, you know, and she has pretty decent psychic abilities. Like, no one's even going to dispute that. It's not like, you know, her sister Tatsumaki, you know, has these insanely god-level psychic powers, which she does, and all Fubuki can do is just, like, I can lift a pen with my mind. Ooh. No, she can whip up some pretty big mass destruction. She could level buildings. She could, her trademark ability is the Blizzard of Hell, which is where she gets her epithet. She takes all of the rubble, all of the gravel, all of the dust, all of the broken glass, all of the garbage that's, in a city, there's copious amounts of that, and she just raises all that up with her psychic powers and just creates a psychic whirlwind and just... And you can imagine, it's like, take all that stuff, all the glass, garbage, gravel, and rubble, mix it into a blender, and it creates this death whirlwind that shreds anybody that comes in contact with it. Any normal human being or animal or monster would just be ripped to shreds by this thing, unless it was, like, high enough level, of course. Or if you're Tatsumaki, you have the psychic powers where you could just negate it with a snap of your fingers. But for most threats that the Blizzard group takes on, it's pretty, you know, it's pretty easily their trump card, right? And that's the whole purpose of the Blizzard group. It's really like, let's get all these B classes together, combine our efforts, and that's how we fight. We fight with group tactics, okay? We don't just run in and fight the monster. We all have different specialties. We all work together here, and if things get a little bit too intense, we always have Lady Fubuki to use her psychic abilities to either restrain the monster or defeat them. But it's working together, because Fubuki has always sort of had this inferiority complex to her sister, and it's not really hard to see why. You know, whereas Fubuki's psychic powers might be impressive to the common person, like I said earlier, Tatsumaki, her older sister, might as well have the power of a god in comparison. Boros' ship launched all of these artillery shells, these giant, like, they probably weigh several tons each, and they launched, like, dozens of them at the same time, right at the, you know, right at the city, and Tatsumaki, without even breaking a sweat, was just able to stop them all as they're getting launched out of the artillery cannons, just, and then she was able to just whip them around and then bombard the ship. So compared to that, Fubuki, like, maybe if Fubuki channeled all of her psychic powers and was, like, really straining herself, she might be able to stop one of those things. Might. I'm still kind of dubious whether she would even be able to do that, but she might. But, you know, she would have to exert a lot of effort to even get that far, not even saying she might not be able to turn it around and fire it back at the ship. But Tatsumaki, it was just a walk in the park for her. And Fubuki even had a statement. She said, like, if it wasn't for her, I would be the superior one. We see this, like, a comparison between the two sisters. We see Fubuki with her psychic powers bending, like, 2 spoons in front of her, you know, and then, which is a typical thing that psychics, it goes back to Uri Geller. Look him up. He's the inspiration for Kadabra from Pokemon with the spoon bending. And then we cut over to see Tatsumaki, who's bending, like, thousands of spoons and forks all around her. Like, their psychic powers don't even compare, okay? So there's this inferiority thing there, whereas her sister is S-class rank 2, she's stuck in B-class, so what she decided was, instead of ranking up to A-class, because I think she realizes, I'm never going to live up to my sister. I can train every day for the next 1,000 years, I'll never be as good as my sister, who is just naturally psychically gifted. That's the thing that probably kicks her in the ass the most. It's like, my sister's just a natural genius, she didn't train at all. It's later revealed Fubuki headed up like a psychic academy along with Psychos, and they worked together and they like honed their psychic abilities and like all these different like skills they could learn. Tatsumaki didn't have any of that. Tatsumaki was just a natural prodigy. So it's like, no matter what I do, I could train as much as I want, I'm never going to be my sister. So I think Fubuki realizes like there's no point of me, like she could rank up to class A if she wanted to, but even if that's the situation, she would never be a candle to Tatsumaki. So she decided, I'm going to stay in class B, and I'm going to gather up a bunch of people together, and we're going to work as a group, because I can't pass her up individually. Maybe if I get a group together and we all work together, work on group tactics, then maybe we could be like a match for her. And this all culminates in the battle that occurs in the webcomic, where the Blizzard group, it's originally Fubuki and Tatsumaki, but then the Blizzard group arrive because they care about their master. And that's another thing too, Fubuki is a good leader. I mean, she acts a little bit stuck up every now and then, but at the end of the day, she's rather down to earth with her own group. There was that bonus chapter where they were short on money because, you have a bunch of people all living together and working together. There, has to be expenses, right? And so I think they needed to buy a car, like, a large enough vehicle in order to get them from one place to another, because they still have to extend that air of finery. Like, they can't just be walking or showing up on a Greyhound bus to the monster attack. It's like, oh no, a tiger-level threat is attacking City W! Whatever will we do? And then this really long, like, black limousine, pulls up, and some fine classical music, like when the doors open, like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony plays, and then all of the Blizzard group appear wearing the fancy black suits and the sunglasses, and they're all just really super fancy, and then Eyelashes and Mountain Ape walk over, and they open up these double doors, and then Fubuki walks out, super fabulous, and the group takes out the tiger-level threat like that, and they go back into the car and they drive away. They need something like that, right? And so they all need to go do part-time jobs in order to raise, on top of their heroing duties, in order to get enough money for this. And, there was a moment there where, Fubuki also, they thought she was doing like prostitution or something in order to pay for it. But it wasn't like, you guys go and do all the menial labor and raise all the money. I will stand here and drink my fine Dom Perignon. She didn't do that. She understood, hey, we all need money, and she did her part as well in order to make enough to get the car, so it wasn't like that. So she is a good leader, for the most part, and so her subordinates really do care about her genuinely, and so they helped her fight against Tatsumaki. This is where we find out, like, Eyelashes and Mountain, like, all the stuff they can do, and everyone's busting out their best skills, and, as you can imagine, it doesn't do much. They attempt to hold Tatsumaki off, but when Tatsumaki in the previous arc literally lifted an entire, just giant, like, I don't even know how to describe this, like, basically the Burj Khalifa, the largest building in the world underground, that was the monster base. It was probably even bigger than that. When Tatsumaki literally just rips that entire thing out of the ground and levels a city in the process, it's kind of like, yeah, you guys are, okay, we have a woman with some pretty impressive jugs that has some decent psychic abilities, and a bunch of people that are wearing fancy suits and that can fight, fairly well. You have that versus, like, it's not going to go over well. Now, granted, Tatsumaki was still weakened from that fight with the Monster Association. Her psychic abilities weren't exactly right to the level where they're normally at because of the damage she took, but still, it was very clear that they're not going to beat her, right? And then, of course, Saitama arrives, and then that whole thing, shifts gears there. Now, it's important to mention that the relationship that Tatsumaki has to her sister, it's not... She does feel like she has to protect her, because she knows her psychic powers are better and everything like that, but she doesn't, like, disregard her sister altogether. It's not that she doesn't love her, she doesn't care about her. Whenever the Monster Association attacks the cities and Fubuki's in danger, Tatsumaki's the first person there to defend her sister, and even Fubuki kind of said it in sort of like a annoyed way, like, like there's a monster attacking her. She's like, she's coming. My sister's coming. It's Dot S. Dot S was the one that was attacking Fubuki, and she's like, yeah, it doesn't matter what you say or not, because Tatsumaki will come, like she always does, to protect me, her little sister, and that's how it's gonna go. And so she does. Tatsumaki appears, and then she basically pins all of the members of the Blizzard group because they were being manipulated by Dot S to attack Fubuki, and she restrains them all, and Tatsumaki finishes the job. And at the same time, she's like, why do you still pal around with these people? Why they're holding you back, they're weakening you. And Fubuki's philosophy is, of course, the exact opposite. She's like, they're not weakening me, they're not a detriment, they're not a dead weight. These are my group, these are my friends. And so Tatsumaki, that's probably even more of an annoyance to Fubuki there, that Tatsumaki basically views her group, everything she's worked for, as nothing more than just like children's games. Just like, oh, you're just playing pretend with your little group. They're holding you back. That's got to probably hurt her as well too. There was a really cool like OVA that focused on Fubuki and Tatsumaki and a little bit more of their relationship there, because Fubuki doesn't really appear in the manga. She's not very prominent until the time she tries to recruit Saitama. She appears a few times before that, but I really like the anime that did that OVA between Fubuki and Tatsu to kind of get like, okay, this is what their dynamic is like before we get into season 2 proper. We have a little bit more of a flavor with their sisterly bond, so to speak, how the dynamic operates. So yeah, Tatsumaki and Fubuki, best friends forever, best sisters for life. Okay, so Fubuki also kind of joins up with Saitama and King and Bang and Genos, and they kind of become like a sort of like pseudo like class in the Hero Association, where it's like you have a few S classes, then you have Saitama, who's technically like I said, SSS plus infinity double uber, but he's really like B class, and then you have Fubuki, who's B class, and she kind of tries to take the role as like the strategist, like you guys need a leader, you need someone to guide you on the path to take out these monsters, when in reality they don't. Saitama is so godly strong, he doesn't really need any direction here. Genos doesn't like Fubuki around, maybe because she's like, it's like, we don't need you around here, woman. Maybe because Genos feels like it's sensei is for me and me alone. We don't need you around with your large personality or something. Genos and Fubuki do kind of have a sort of jealousy thing going on there if you read into it. It's kind of funny. There was a moment where Genos was going to see Saitama, and Fubuki was as well, and Genos is like, what are you doing here? We don't want you here, just leave. And Fubuki's like, I could say the same thing about you. He's like, you don't really live here. And Genos is like, Master allows me to stay here if I pay him rent. And Fubuki's like, that he's clearly just using you for the money, he doesn't really need you around either. He's like, no, sensei needs me. So it is like a weird like competition between them there. So right now in the Murata version of the manga, they're basically about to infiltrate the Monster Association, and they're going to meet back up with Saitama, and they're going to do the whole thing there. In the webcomic, the way they do it is they fight against Overgrown Rover, who is one of the Monster Association executives, who's a dragon level threat, very strong. Fubuki basically runs into Psychos, and Psychos is the former VP of that psychic school I talked about, so they have a relationship there, so they fight it out. Tatsu appears and gets overrun by all of the different dragon level threats, just constantly bombarding her. It's probably really interesting because we're going to get more of a backstory, I feel, because they the whole thing with the psychic school and Psychos and Fubuki's relationship kind of just gets thrown out of nowhere in the webcomic. It's just like, oh yeah, by the way, Fubuki ran this psychic school, and then here's Psychos, and then she was also part of that, and they have a relationship. I think it might be elaborated a little bit in the webcomic, but in the manga, I think Murata and One, they're going to work together, and they're really going to create like the whole backstory of this between there might be a whole chapter based on like Psychos and Fubuki and how their relationship worked there, because they were comrades, they were friends in school, and then something happened and she defected and she ended up becoming, one of the executives of the Monster Association. And I don't know how this whole thing's going to be dealt with, because there are a few things that are changed, like for example the Monster King Orochi for one of them, and then Garo is still stalking around, but Psychos will make her appearance at some point, and we'll see how that whole thing goes with the backstory there. But other than that, that's pretty much everything about Fubuki. I didn't talk about her boobs as much. I think it's because I vented already. It's like, no. We're gonna bog down the entire video if we just do nothing but talk about her fabulous, flotation devices. So let's make a whole video about that to redirect all of our Opie love. Right, as Saitama, and then we could focus on her actual character later on. So that's the thing. Yeah, that's pretty cool. She's fabulous. Oh, I forgot to mention that there's a minor little artwork here, and in the manga she does have a melee weapon that she uses, and it's actually a box cutter. All right, and I only bring this up because working at Dollar Tree for as long as I did, the box cutter is your sidearm. It's your lone companion in the sea of retail. Anybody else that's worked in any retail store probably has a similar attachment to their box cutter. You might be saying, why do I have this if I quit Dollar Tree? It's like, well, because I had to buy them on my own. That part kind of blew. But aside from that, yeah, the box cutter, it's not a great melee weapon, not really. I mean, if you're being an idiot with it and trying to cut a bunch of boxes, like, well, I have a scar. I can't really see them that well, but my hands are forever scarred with various little slice marks from when I wasn't being very careful with my box cutter. But yeah, she busts that out whenever it's like, oh, my psychic powers aren't working. All right, well, I guess. Ah! It's all I got left, right? She actually charged at Saitama with it, like. I think a box cutter is not really going to work that well on Saitama, but hey, I mean, that might be his Achilles heel. You don't know. You can try it. But yes, Fubuki is very fabulous. I can't wait to see her in Season 2. The few appearances that she had in Season 1 were pretty good. Voice actress seemed great. We're going to get to find out more about the Blizzard Bunch here. So, by the way, I hate that name. I hate that they're called the Blizzard Bunch in the Viz. That does sound childish. It's like we all get together, like, what's our name going to be? It's like, the Blizzard Bunch. I'm like, really? The bunch? You're not a bunch. Don't be a bunch. Like, remember, I'm a big Scooby-Doo buff. I love Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf had the Hunch Bunch. Remember them? The two little dorky hunchbacks? That's what I think of when I think of a bunch. Just go with the Blizzard Group, or the Blizzard Organization, or the Blizzard, what's the conglomeration or something. Just something cooler than bunch. I know you got alliteration to worry about, but alliteration isn't anything. Ask Retro Rhino, or the Future Ferret, or the Modern Mongoose, or the Alliteration Alligator. Ask all those guys. Alliteration isn't everything, right? Okay. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. I'll close this out with some images of Fubuki's personality. Check out that personality. It is amazing. All right, and that's the one thing she managed to one-up Tatsumaki on at the end of the day. There was also, I think, Murata drew her Fubuki as like a teenager, like what she was like in school. And in school, she was very self-conscious because she had braces and glasses, but she still had big boobs. But she like carried herself kind of dumpy so she wouldn't be noticed and stuff. So hey, from where she's at then to where she's at now, she's definitely gained some more confidence in her life. Which that lack of confidence probably stemmed from Tatsumaki. But at the end of the day, she's got larger boobs. So that's the only character trait that matters. Psychic power, that's not important. You got boobs, and that's the thing. All right, we're gonna sign out now. Thanks for watching, everyone. Later. I also forgot to mention this in the video. Some of you might have been waiting to hear my opinion on it. But I don't think there is an opinion, really. I don't think there's anything subjective about this. Fubuki really wants Saitama's dick.